Paul Ferguson here with Richard Beaupre. Welcome once again to action from day 10 in Munich, the World Ice Hockey Championships for 1993, the quarterfinals, Germany against Russia. The Germans with a lot of support here in this near 11,000-seater rink are hoping for miracles against the power of the Russians. Listen to the crowd in the background, and the game hasn't even started.
Hellmut DE RAAF having a good warm-up, talking things over before the game with the coaching to make sure that he's going to be ready for this. He's had injury problems, a slight niggling thigh injury that he received earlier. Hasn't been feeling well, elects to go in this game ahead of Pepe Heist to start for Germany. TREFILOV will go in the goal for the Russians.
TREFILOV, who played a game in the NHL with Calgary, has been looking sharp at times, and it remains to be seen how he will perform this evening. The Germans will play right to left. The Russians are not themselves. They're not the team they were a few years ago. They're rebuilding. They brought back a few names that you may recognize: Bykov, Butseyev, Khomatov, but for the rest of them, a lot of them are youngsters. One or two from the NHL, but it's right out of the farm system for the Russians. We'll go over the German names as they come up, and the Russians now work on DE RAAF. Meyer in the corner in the first whistle, and that's a name we're all going to know. Meyer, Brandl, Koch, Trunchka, Hilger, Trunchka again, Niederberger, Kummer, Franz, Rumrich, and Rumrich in the opening seconds gets a penalty for Germany. Perhaps a little too fired up out there.
Michael Rumrich, one of the players who has been a key in the success for the Germans so far. You expect wonderful things to come from Dieter Hagen and Gerd Trunchka. The stick coming up on Khomatov. Quite quickly, Rumrich is sitting in the penalty box. Rumrich and Koch, Hilger, etc., as you mentioned, Paul, those are the guys that have made a lot happen. They're great work ethics for this German side.
Another penalty coming up here. Interference is the call, and this game really hasn't got started yet. Butseyev makes his way into the penalty box, and that'll level things up.
The power play for the Germans has been brilliant. Power play for the Russians hasn't been quite what it normally is. They're rated 6 right now. The Germans are rated 2. They're the ones that have really been putting the puck in the net with a man advantage. Byakin, Khomatov, and Bykov generally up front for the Russian team. Now, four players aside. This one is niggly, and we're in the very early going.
Trunchka drops it all the way back, and the Germans will chase. Still no shots on goal. Both teams have a man in the box. 120 seconds on the German penalty, 134 on the Russian penalty. Every time the Germans are dumped, there are going to be whistles from the crowd expecting a penalty. That's shot away. And the Russians now coming back on the attack. Kaminsky lets the shot go. That goes into the corner. The Germans getting back in numbers. Richard Amann trying to loosen it up in there. Amann, Niederberger, one or two high sticks on the play, and the Germans come out. Trunchka throws it over to the far side. Hagen on this side. Niederberger's up there. Trunchka moves in, takes the shot. TREFILOV goes down. He's got it in the crease.
So many times already we've seen Hagen and Trunchka come over the opposing team's blue line and make something happen out of nothing. Niederberger getting involved with him on that play.
Just the noise and the support from this crowd is going to take this German team through the 3 periods.
An excellent pick set up by Niederberger, allowing Trunchka to have 2 or 3 extra strides to get closer to TREFILOV before firing the puck.
Koch now spins around. Koch trying to get around Smirnov. That trickles into the corner. Duce is holding. Well, both of them are holding out there. Now Smirnov picks it up, taps it up on the left wing. A lot of grabbing and clutching in the corners. You're going to expect that. Still both teams with men in the box. Kienas brings it out for Germany. Kienas has got the big hit out there when he wants to use it. Karpov was dispossessed. Hiemer, Duce. Hiemer in the corner. Duce tried to poke that away, and the pressure coming from the Germans, as you would expect in the early stages. Germany at full strength now for a couple of seconds. The Russians will join them. Coming down on the left side, Franz taken out of the play. The loose puck bobbles behind the goal. The Germans setting it up. The Russians back at full strength as Butsayev steps on the ice. The whistle blows. And we'll have a face-off.
The puck glove down, creating a stoppage in play. Both teams really having a go at each other. The Russians not shy to play a physical game. The Germans, as we've seen in their past games, like the North American style of hockey and really throw the weight and the lumber around.
Out of the face-off goes Stefan Ustorf, who's been suffering from hay fever. Komatov drops it back. And yes, these players do suffer everyday ailments like we do. Going in on the backhand side, looking for somewhere to go with that. Butsayev got it all the way back. And the Russians will have to put up with jeers and whistles from this crowd for most of the game. Oli Hiemer got it up as far as the hash marks. Hilder brought it back in. Hilger over to Duce. Duce pops it up as far as Thompson. Komatov taps it in. Shot. And that's deflected by a defenseman. Franz picks it up and gets it back to the blue line. Brought in offside.
Shendelev trying to hold it in. The puck just over the blue line. The team's changing their front lines. Thomas Brandl brings his line out onto the ice.
Pushkov takes over the duties at center, goes up against Brandl. Brandl gets it back to Meyer. Meyer breaks across the ice, goes for Brandl. That's too far. A chance now for Rumrick. But we had a whistle on the play. I think TREFILOV already knew that.
Hard to hear the whistle in this building. Everybody creating so much noise. The players are having difficulty. It looked like Rumrick was gone for a breakaway.
The Russians won't be too happy about the shot after the whistle by Rumrick, but to be fair to him, it was difficult to hear it. Р.Хирн, the American referee, trying to sort things out. Trunchka comes out now. That comes out over the blue line. A chance for Hagen. Hagen takes a long shot off the backboards. Karpovtsev got it out of the zone, and that trickles all the way down the ice. Richard Ammon goes back. 3:43 gone in the first period. No score in this one between the Germans and the Russians. Niederberger trying to get away from Yashin. Niederberger slams on the brakes. Hagen goes toward goal. And TREFILOV came out, pounced on it for a moment, and we have another whistle on the play. Boy, it's difficult to hear what's going on down there.
The referee constantly having to have words with the players. Nobody understanding what's happening. Captain Gerd Trunchka trying to figure out why he's been thrown in the penalty box. Slashing is the call.
Petrenko should join him out there for interference. Let's take a look at this. Interference and slashing are the coincidental calls out there. So Bob Hearn settling down, or trying to settle down these two teams right from the face-off. He's calling everything he sees out there. Petrenko and Gerd Trunchka will sit for 2 minutes. Titov threw it around the net. Big hit at center. Thrown all the way back is Duce to Niederberger. Niederberger pumps it up onto the right side. Titov goes after his man, and the Germans can't control it in the neutral ice zone. Going down on the right side is Karpov. Karpov spins around, looks for somewhere to throw the puck. Doesn't have anywhere to go. The Germans along the hash marks. That comes out, thrown right through to Karpov. Karpov drops it back onto the blue, and that took a deflection. Smirnov got a piece of it. It went high off the plexi, and the Germans just happy to get it out. Smirnov going over to Yushkevich. Yushkevich pumps it up to Karpov. Karpov lost control of that. Ammon threw it in. Bykov is out there. He hasn't done much so far, but we've had so many penalties. It's been difficult for both teams to get their full lines out there. Komatov goes back. The shadow comes from Kummer. Bykov pops it into the center. 5 minutes gone. 50 seconds now remaining on the coincidental penalties. Kummer gets it up to Brandl. Brandl taken out on the boards. Good stuff by Byakin as Bykov gets deep. Bykov throws it over to 22, Shendelev. Shendelev taps it back over to the far side. Smirnov shoots it in. Bykov drops it back into the circle. Komatov, his pass was anticipated by Brandl, and both teams go for a change out there. No change in the way they're playing, both teams going for it. Komatov from Bykov, big shot! Smirnov came in, trying to tidy up in front of the net, and that's gathered and put out to number 4, Sorokin. Sorokin having a difficult time. He brings his man down, that's Franz. Everyone here looking for a penalty as the teams get back to full strength.
The game's starting to open up a little bit. It's still close checking along the boards, but the teams are starting to string the passes together.
The give there was to Bykov. Bykov goes for a change. Sorokin picks it up and fires it back towards the bench. Now it's picked up by Trunchka. Trunchka doing some ducking and diving to get away from Petrenko. Trunchka hits the blue line, comes in with Voland, and back come the Russians. The Russians on the attack. Still no score in this one. Going in on the right-hand side, that's Yashin. Yashin, Petrenko. Meyer will pick this up for the Germans and keep the pace moving out there. The crowd really loving this. We haven't had a whistle for a long time. Voland is hit in front of the penalty box. Frolov is taken off the plate. Coming up to the 7-minute mark. Trunchka dumped down on the ice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players along the hash marks. Hagen is taken off the puck by Frolov. That's shot away back to the blue line. And a chance now for Kaminsky. That's out of the zone. Menda gets it all the way back to Meyer. Again, a quick change for both teams. Meyer's pass is intercepted by Frolov, and he loses it in the neutral zone. Hagen slams on the brakes. He's trying to get off because Kopf is on. The next line for Germany has come out, and the lines are getting mixed up out there as they go through these quick changes. Trunchka now is out. Trunchka, a good little drop pass going for Duce. The shot, Trefilov makes the save. Smirnov comes in to clear it away, and the Germans going through a good spell. The loose puck, Trefilov couldn't grab it. Varitsky goes for a skate back behind his own goal. Smirnov gets it out of the zone, and the Germans applying a little pressure. The tap forward to Trunchka. The long shot went off a defenseman, came back into neutral ice territory, and we've been playing for an endless amount of time out there without a whistle.
The Germans are really pressing the attack. I'm sure that the Russians did their homework and saw the way that the Germans came out against the Americans and jumped all over them in the first period. The Russians aren't going to let that happen. Well, they're going to try not to let that happen anyways. Germany pressing the attack. When they get to the German or the Russian blue line, the Russians are stacking it up, pushing them out of the way, and when Russia get possession, they're spreading out and they're really skating. They're making the Germans have to play a bit of defense as well. The Americans were letting the Germans take it to them and found themselves 5-0 down after the first period.
Boy, how can you not play well in an atmosphere like this? This is playoff hockey. This is NHL stuff, isn't it? This is the kind of stuff you pay to see. End-to-end ice hockey. Good, clean fun out there. From the face-off in German territory, Picked up by 18, Thompson. The Germans throw it up on the wing, back on the attack. Rumrich. TREFILOV gloves it down.
Rumrich and Brandl, as I've already mentioned, two guys that just don't stop going. Brandl quickly trying to get in there and see if TREFILOV had set that puck down, but it wasn't going to happen. TREFILOV saw him coming all the way. Coomer playing the left wing on that line. Another guy who had an injury early in the tournament with a hand problem has overcome that and has been really turning in sharp performances for the Germans.
Bykov got it back, and the Russians stout out down the right side. Breaking through the center is Shendelev. Bykov comes back to pick up the puck. Byakin taken off the play at the second attempt. The Russians now with Khomatov. Khomatov, he'll try to find Bykov. These guys work well together, 15 and 27. Don't forget number 29, Butseyev. Rumrich. Butseyev goes after him, and that trickles out. Shendelev will pick it up. Again, we'll have another change. The Russians waiting at the door, waiting for their opportunity to get on the ice. Bykov taken out of the play by Coomer. Bykov doesn't seem to be doing much out there, but when he has to, he really motors. Shendelev and Khomatov. Khomatov taken out of the play. A big chop there from number 18, Thompson. Coomer brings himself back down on the left side. The pass over to the far side. Coomer gets over there to help out. Ustorf was taken off the play. Meyer comes in and tips it high. And again, we have another change. Long periods without whistles out there.
Hellmuth DE RAAF has been watching most of the play from his end of the ice. The busy man has been TREFILOV in the Russian zone.
An excellent crowd here in Munich, enjoying every minute of this. We understand that people in the United Kingdom and in the Scandinavian countries, a lot of the countries in Eastern Europe are watching here on Eurosport. We hope you like what you hear and like what you see. Forward checking is Yashin. Lashin, the #1 draft pick for the Ottawa Senators, still playing in the Russian League. Yashin now picks it up. Yashin gets it right out front. Petrenko was there trying to put it home, and he couldn't get the shot away from just at the top of the circle. That's deflected away by Ustorf. Ustorf going way back to help out on the D. Picked up now by Karpatsov. Petrenko goes in to help out, and Mendes shoots it away. The Germans break now. Every time they touch the puck, there's a wild roar from the crowd. And the Russians, Sorokin trying to get it out of the zone. He's successful. That goes past Yashin. Sorokin goes back forward and taps it. Taken off the plate is Varitsky. Varitsky going in for Pushkov. That comes on the near side, and the Russians start to skate and start to throw it around. Varitsky looking for somewhere to go. Bolin goes after his man. And the Russians, always dangerous when they have the puck, are starting to throw the passes together and are starting to settle down in this one. It must be a daunting experience to come out here and have a German team with 11,000 people going at you. Come at you full force. Pushed away Pushkov to the near side. Kinas, the hardest hitter on the team, trying to get it back to Trunchka. And the Russians now started up.
The Germans staying back with three guys near their own blue line. Excellent coaching from Bukash. We've said it a couple times, his contract has been extended until 1995. It certainly should have been. Peter Hagen getting helped up by the linesman. He was belted off the puck. The referee asking him, are you going to let him push you around like that? Well, it's a funny thing for a ref to say.
Let's take a look at this again. Hagen gets one hit and runs into the linesman.
Now you can see why it was the tangled skates of the linesman and Hagen that brought him down. That's why the referee was laughing so hard. Anything can happen.
Titov got it over to the far side, and the Russians now bringing it back. Dushkevich overskated that for a moment and then flips it up on the right side. Kinas takes his man out of the play, and you can see the Russians are starting to close the Germans down in neutral ice territory. They really don't have the room they had at the start of this period. Karpov to Titov, big shot, Karpov goes in, overskates the rebound as that bounces out. Randall works on the far side, but Ducey comes up in the middle. Ducey looking for places to go, and a lot of shirts back. A lot of red shirts back, that is. Kopp trying to get it out to Ducey, and TREFILOV pounces on that. A lot of red bodies getting back in a hurry to break down that attack from Germany as they work the counter on the Russians here in the first period. Still no score.
The Germans very underrated offensively. All three lines they've been putting out on the ice have applied pressure on TREFILOV. It isn't just the Hagen-Trunchka line. Ducey and Kopp, this time it's been Rumrick and Brandl. Three sets of guys that can really come out and make things happen. I was starting to say about Coach Bukac, he's done an excellent job knowing that certain games he can go with the offense and go all out toward the opposing team's net. In this game, knowing that the Russians and the likes of the Swedes are more offensively strengthened, he's having guys stay back and help out more.
Shendelev goes to the far side as the puck comes round on this side. It's dropped back by Biakin to Shendelev. A chance now for 29, Butseyev. Butseyev looking to thread the eye of the needle, puts it all the way down the ice. Icing will be the call. Another fast start earlier on today. The USA and the Swedes went up against it in the first of the quarterfinals. We're going to see over the next 2 days. The Swedes and the Americans, after one period, were tied. After two periods, were tied. And then finally, the Swedes went on to win it 5-2. What a game that was. We thought we were going to need replacements after 40 seconds. They were going so fast. This one is living up to our expectations, too. The Germans trying to keep it in, and they do. That comes out. The pass over wasn't a good one, and the Russians now break with three guys hitting the blue line. Kaminsky along the boards, working with Yashin. Yashin now goes into poke check. Kaminsky's back. The Germans get it out. Ustorf working up, taps it forward. Ustorf breaks to the far side. Franz went in, and TREFILOV didn't want to take any chances and forced the face-off. And again, we have a change of personnel for both teams.
That's actually the fourth line that Coach Bukac throws out on the ice. Franz and Ustorf, two hard-working guys. Ustorf, the 19-year-old kid, will probably be on his way to the Washington Capitals before long.
Getting set for this face-off. Trunchka spins around, takes the shot. That goes upstairs. Rick Ammon was right there with them. Both of them fighting for that puck, and Trunchka has got the quick release out there. Boy, what can you say about this guy, Gerhard Trunchka? 9 world championships coming into this tournament. 212 international caps. 34 years old and still playing like a youngster. Back behind the Russian goal. Breaking to the far side is Pushkov. The pass comes up. Trunchka stays with him. That's dumped all the way in. The Russians go after with Niederberger getting back there. Veritsky tries to get in. The chase from Astrakantsev. Trunchka throws it into the center. Hagen with a chance. Hagen is brought down. Pushkov brings him down. The referee's arm stays down. I agree with that. Niederberger on the blue line. The long pass forward. And one or two dives coming from Hagen as he remonstrates to the American referee. The Russians go back on the attack. Trunchka dispossessed just outside the blue line. Coming over the line. Nikolaisen dropped down. That's going to be a penalty. Shot, come in. Keenas goes after his man as De Raaf goes down to make the save. Whoa, the crowd are not going to like this. This is not going the way they wanted it to go.
The American referee isn't making friends in a hurry as Dieter Hagen is livid. Hagen looking like a circus act during that shift. 2 or 3 pirouettes up and over the top of people, in the air a few times, and it ends up that Trunchka gets the penalty for Germany. Trunchka's pass taken away from him just outside his own blue line. Nikolaisen with a move to the inside. Trunchka putting the grab on him. The Russians will go to the power play.
At the other end of the rink, Hagen is brought down. Pushkov got the stick in there. That wasn't a penalty according to the American referee. I hope he's got a helicopter on the roof to get out of here if he continues that kind of stuff. I'm saying it's good. The fans don't like it. Yushkevich taps it in. They got the man advantage. Yushkevich being shadowed by Baron Trunchka. Shot from close in by 11 Titov. That deflects high. Kopp goes over to pick it up. 143 on Trunchka's penalty. 14:39 gone on the first period. No score, Russia-Germany. This is knockout hockey. The winner goes on to fight again. The loser goes home.
The referees are only human, and having reviewed the replay, that certainly did look like a dive. Both teams want to stay in this tournament. You're talking about who's going home and who's not. Well, I'll tell you what. The Germans are going to have to stay on their feet and do more than stay out of the penalty box as well.
The pass through to Nikolaishin. Nikolaishin working with Karpov. Nikolaishin and the jeers in the background trying to put the Russians off their stroke. They've seen it before. Tapped all the way back to Yushkevich. Yushkevich puts it into Titov. Titov back to Yushkevich. Yushkevich back to Titov. Titov fans on that one. Has to go in the corner to pick it up. No pressure from the Germans. The Germans will let the Russians play it around. That comes in. Titov fans on that one. And Kinas goes in there. 23 Nikolaishin tries to get it all the way back. Yushkevich pumps it in now. Nikolaishin in the circle. The Germans still can't get it out of the zone. That comes all the way back to the blue. Smirnov taps it all the way in on the backhand side. The Russians electing to keep it wide. The fake shot from beside the net. Right in front, Nikolaishin. Back to Smirnov. Kopp goes down. A pump in. That's in the net. Karpov from the slot on a power play. Bangs it home.
This could quiet the crowd down a little. A power play goal by Russia. Karpov letting everybody flop and flounder around him. Went high with the shot. The Russians working it down low. Man going through the slot. The pass goes off a German skate right back to the point. Kopp, Kinas, all of the Germans trying to block the shots. Heimer had a piece of the first one, not this one, as Karpov sends it into the back of the goal.
One or two fortunate bounces for the Russians, but that's the whole part of the game. Komatov got it over. Butseyev fed it through, and that took a deflection. The Russians leading this one in the first period, 1-0. Komatov feeds it through. A chance now, big shot there coming from Butseyev. The RAF went down, made the save, and the Germans again under pressure in their own zone. Well, we talked about these sleeping Russian giants a couple of days ago. They did all they had to do to get into the Final Four. Could they be the ones to watch in this tournament? We've seen the strength of the Swedes against the Americans. Boy, did they look sharp. And the Russians right now are dominating. Shendelev. Bykov breaks up the center. The pass comes up to Bykov. Bykov drops it back nicely. And here comes Varitsky. Varitsky breaks in from a sharp angle. Varitsky poke checked out of the play by DE RAAF. Some good goaltending there as he came around the net. Ustorf trailing, can't get it. Khomatov comes back. Khomatov against Meyer. The shot goes upstairs over the goalie.
The Russians starting to really mount the pressure on the Germans. The goal has gotten them going. The red shirts are really buzzing.
Varitsky dumped in the circle. The Germans are going to have to pick it up a pace. Hagen feeds it right through. Varitsky way back on the D to break it up. Thrown out of the zone. Pushkov goes after it. Still Pushkov. Pushkov drops it back. Big shot coming in from 25. Astrakantsev. And that deflected away. I hope I don't have to say his name too many times. Tapped back by Karpovtsov. There goes the tongue. And both teams changing on the fly out there as the Russians slow it down. Fresh legs come out. Karpovtsov overskates it. Still gets it to a Russian shirt. Dieter Hagen goes up to mix things up, and the Germans, with Rick Ammon back in his own zone, flip it to the far side. The pass through, Trunchka couldn't get a handle on it. Coming up to the final 2 minutes of the period. 1-0, the Russians leading. This is live on Eurosport from Munich. Hope you're enjoying it. We are. Trunchka, the backhand pass through to Dieter Hagen, and he's dumped just inside the line. Good check by the Russians. Ammon off the boards, all the way down the ice. That'll be icing.
The Russians are still stepping up on Germany right at the blue line, taking the play right away from them. On the shift before that, Sapoznikov, who's leading the Russians in penalties, threw a big hit on his man at the blue line, and the trend continues. Hagen taken out of the play nicely. Those passes are going to have to come before the blue line, and the guy's going to have to just be motoring when he gets it.
From the top of the circle now, the Germans getting back in numbers. Meyer trying to get it through to Keenas. That goes too far. Hiemer is over there. Kopf is there too for the Germans. That took a deflection off a body. And now Germany breaks out. 4 or 5 guys coming out as Ducey brings it up. Ducey, the Canadian-German, working right in front of the goal. That's tapped forward by a glove. Ducey trying to get a stick on it. Titov goes into the corner to Muscle. That squirts away from him. Yushkevich can't keep it in. The deflection with Bernd Trunchka moving in quickly right beside the net, goes behind the goal, all the way back to the blue, and the Germans now a chance. Coming in, a chance to shoot. The shot is not a strong one. Penalty coming up.
Referee's arm in the air. The Germans continue on. Hiemer being hooked up. A lot of action by the side of the goal. Yushkevich has got his man smothered. The whistle is blown, and Yushkevich goes to the penalty box. Yushkevich, who wasn't meant to be playing in this game, took a shot in the face from the puck, that is, during the Canadian game, wearing a full face mask and a big bandage on his chin, out there and throwing his weight around.
Played 82 games with Philadelphia this year. 5 goals, 22 assists for the youngster in the penalty box. Correction, 27 assists.
Statistically, this should be interesting. The second-rated power play against the second-rated short-handed unit.
Well, we'll see what they do out there. Vikov will be the man in charge. That comes all the way back to the D. A chance now. Hagen moves in as he's done so many times. Trefilov goes down and puts out the left pad. Ammon comes in to rough it up with Niederberger. But how many times have we seen Dieter Hagen get the draw back at the blue line, waltz right in and take the shot? The Germans are going to blow the opportunity of a power play.
That's a good call by the referee. Rick Ammon coming in from his defensive spot and just smearing one of the Russians. What for? They've got the power play opportunity. That's just not smart hockey. I realize a guy is pumped up. The whole team is. Dieter Hagen trying to do it on his own, holding the puck, something he is so clever at, walking around everybody, looking, decides not to go to Niederberger. Trefilov has to make a decision. He goes down, and for him, it's the right decision. Aman, who's come in from his defensive spot, cross-checking. Well, sit down for a couple minutes and think about that one, Rick. That's a mistake.
That's a big mistake. Did you see the players around that net? Niederberger, Volan, and Trunchka were all camped out on the far side. The final 50 seconds as that comes to Schendelav. Schendelav tips it forward, and the Germans have blown a golden opportunity to put on the power play. Vikov circles. Vikov taps it forward. Vikov goes for the return pass, but Trunchka gets back. And the Germans now, with Trunchka going into the corner, a one-timer coming from Astrakhansev. That trickles into the corner. Hagen, 14 seconds. Trunchka poke checked as he tried to get it out. Meyer throws it to the far side. Just 4 seconds now on the clock. And that's the end of the period. It was close. 1 or 2 penalties in it. It got very physical, but they kept it clean. the only goal on the power play coming from the Russians, Karpov. And that's the way it stands. 1-0, the Russians in the lead. Well, what a fast and furious start, as we predicted. A lot like the Swedes against the Americans. Can they maintain the pace?
The Germans are certainly capable of going the distance. They proved that against the USA. The Russians had the better of the play, and it's the little things that are going to cost the Germans if they're not careful. They're going to have to keep their composure. They're going to have to be better disciplined. The Russians mentally are very strong, and they aren't going to break down.
Well, we're going to take a break now while the teams take a break. Stay with us because we have more live action from Munich in a moment. Against the Finns. Right now, it's Russia against Germany. The Germans have a lot of support, as you would expect, and they're trailing, though, 1-0 on the scoreboard.
The Czechs are certainly going to be highly favored over the Italians. The Italians have been struggling. The Finns are really going to be up against it with the Canadians. Those two teams look pretty comfortable.
The Germans will be playing from left to right, and they've got everything to go for in this period. If they can stay out of the penalty box, I'm sure they'll stay with the Russians. Khomatov, Bykov getting set for the face-off. Р.Хирн, the American referee, finally calls them together, and that comes all the way back onto the blue line. The Germans now flipping in. Kummer over to the far side, a 4-on-4 situation out there. Yushkevich got a penalty, and Ammon came in with a silly cross-check to level things up. And right now it's 4-on-4. Khomatov, that bounced off his stick. Flipped all the way in. Khomatov is the intended receiver, and he gets the puck. Hammered out of the play by Meyer. Meyer pressing a lot. Bykov trying to work in front. He does. A little help there from number 6. Byakin fakes the shot. Everyone jumps out of the way. Byakin is grabbed and taken off the play as Mende comes forward. Mende taps it up, and the Germans now back on the attack. Not a great pass over from Meyer. Kummer was the intended receiver. Back on the attack, the Russians. Big shot coming in, the rebound. Ilya Byakin with the Russians coming back to full strength. Byakin taking a big shot on goal. Hagen goes after his man, and Rick Ammon steps on the ice to level things up. I'm sure that Dr. Ludek Bukic, the Czech coach of the German national team, will have had words with a couple of more serious hotheads on the team and told them to play hockey. He doesn't want them to stop being physical. Ammon couldn't control that as it trickled in front of the goaltender, Hellmuth de Raaf, so he pounces on it for a face-off.
The RAF didn't have a lot of action in the first period. The Russians struck on a power play. Other than that, most of it was going at TREFILOV. The RAF has got a 96% save percentage in the tournament so far. He's also been involved in 2 of the games to come up with big performances. They'll be watching him closely to make sure he's okay from the injury side of things.
He does suffer from that thigh injury that hurt him just before the tournament started. Meyer tries to tip that in. Karpovtsev brings it up on the right side. Good pass into neutralized territory. Yashin waits, picks it up on the right side. Yashin got the pass over from Petrenko. Yashin stick handling nicely, trying to ram it in on the short side. That didn't work. Kinas goes after his man. That took a deflection through Voland. And the Germans there looking for a quick break as Yashin goes over and takes a break on the side. Petrenko taps it forward. Coming up for Karpov. Karpov drops it back, and the Germans coming back in numbers. Hagen breaking through the middle. Hagen with Trunchka and Voland. Dispossessed there by number 24, Karpov. He flips it all the way over to Sorokin. Sorokin, a gentle tap up to Titov. Titov being chased now. Niederberger Kopp in the corner. Duse goes in to help out. Everyone teaming up in the corner. No one wants to let it go. 3 Germans, a lot of pushing and shoving. Some poking by Duse. Eventually springs out to Niederberger. Ammon sets it free, and the Germans with Baron Trunschke get it out of the zone, only to have it pushed right back in again.
The Russians like to change the whole line at one time, so they'll look to get the puck in deep and then change.
Kopp took the big shot. Trefilov had problems with that. Yushkevich goes in to play goaltender and cover up.
Trefilov didn't have a clue where the puck was. Kopp stepped up to the blue line and let it rip. That almost trickled past Trefilov. Kopp with the full wind-up. The legs are wide open for Trefilov. He goes down on the knees. The puck hits him under the arm almost, just up around the waist area, coming down, and then he really had a struggle to find it.
Lost that between the pads, and the face-off now in Russian territory. Hammered off the boards by Butseyev. Butseyev throws it up. Chance for Karpov. Long shot, misses the net. Going in after it, Britsky. Loose puck in front. Thompson cleared it away. That banged off the metalwork. Another puck coming out front, and the Russians now buzzing around that goal. The Germans looking in total disarray out there. Pushkov tried to keep it in, and Hilger brings it out. Franz in behind the net, throws it back into the corner. No one over to the far side to go after Pushkov. Pushkov, a long pass to this side. Baritsky taken off the play. The Germans getting back in numbers. Here comes Franz. Franz tees it up, a big shot. That took a deflection, goes high out of the building. And the Germans showing that they too can counter.
And that hurt as well. That went off Butseyev, and he felt it. He's not in any hurry to get to the bench. The Russians stacking it up at the blue line to keep the Germans out.
Dr. Ludek Bukac knows, as we take a look at that one coming off the post, Thompson eventually got it away. Bukac knows that this is the most important game of the tournament. The Germans, to maintain interest in this competition, have to stay in the competition. We appreciate that the crowds will be excellent throughout the rest of the competition, but without the Germans, what'll happen? Khomatov, Meyer takes a poke. Bikov tried to tap it in, had to go for a skate in neutralized territory. Butseyev got the shot away. Meyer took him down. Mende was there.
Good individual effort from Butseyev. Visions of the old Bobby Orr move while he was in the air in the Stanley Cup playoffs, still getting the shot away for the big goal. Well, Butseyev isn't quite Bobby Orr in my mind, but a great try by him. DE RAAF forced to make a good save.
Meyer backing up a lot on goal. Niederberger gets that up on the wing, and the Germans with Trunschke. Trunschke off the back of the boards to Niederberger. Niederberger just slams it off the woodwork. Petrenko goes in to jam things up with Bolin. And Niederberger will try again, right in front of the net to the far side. Germany with a slow build-up. Ammon got it into the zone. No one there to pick it up for Germany. Along the boards, that bounced well for the Germans, but they couldn't hang on to it. Bolin goes in, spun out of the play. Petrenko, a good little move. Feeds it up now to 18, Kaminsky. Kaminsky with Yashin. And DE RAAF goes out to pounce on it.
Butseyev on the bench, trying to get the ice on the leg. That's the result of the shot that he blocked that went high up into the crowd. More than one Russian ailing. That's actually Sapoznikov getting ice. The defenseman starting to get beat up for the Russians.
Smirnov keeps it in from the side of the net. Smirnov gets it again on the blue line with Kopp. And the Germans being muscled out of the plate. Duce chased that over to the far side. Big shot in. De Raaf lugs it down. Gives it right back. Oh, big shot coming in from Titov. Ends right back into Russian territory. Yushkevich goes back for it. Flips it over to Smirnov. Smirnov hammered out of the play. Duce trying to get the backhand pass over. Yushkevich has it and clears it to the far side. The Germans are chasing right now. So much firepower and excellent skating ability on that Russian team. Well positioned out there is Karpov. Feeding it through, a break-in on goal. That's in the net! Titov went in on the backhand side. Whoa, a long pass up the middle. Something out of nothing for the Russians.
What can you say about this Russian team? It looks like they're not doing much. It looks like they're not skating hard. One or two passes, and they're in on the goal, and they're on the score sheet again. Karpov with the long pass ahead. Number 11, Titov, he's got to step on everybody. He's in on De Raaf. Pulls the puck patiently to the backhand, keeps it on the ice. A little help from the post, and then the back of De Raaf's arm. That's all that Titov needs. He's got the second Russian goal.
Had the goalie not been there, that would have bounced right out underneath. Right through the crease. But he got a little help, as you said, Richard, from the back of the hand. That put it in the net. They all count.
The last 5 minutes or so of this period, it's clear to see that the Russians are taking command. They're controlling the puck. They're using the whole ice surface to their advantage, and they're freewheeling. The Germans are struggling. They're chasing, and they're really making it hard for themselves.
Ustorf puts it up on the wing, and that's kept in by Biakin. The Germans finding themselves back in their own zone again, coming out now. A chance for number 22, Franz. Franz feeds it up on the far side to Hilger. Hilger runs out of places to go. The shot comes in. Trefilov goes down, and that squirts over to the near corner. Big hit there by Franz. Another one coming in from Hilger, and the Germans getting a little physical. That's something they need to do against the Russians. They want to take the steam out of their engines.
Not only get physical, they need a goal. They're down by 2. If they could pop one now, it would get them going again. I think their confidence has gone down a little bit. They're not getting the bounces that they have been getting in the last few games. One goal could turn it all around for Germany again.
No let up in the support from this capacity crowd here in the Olympic Hall. Rumrick on the backhander, well wide of the target. That goes to the far side to Mende. Mende pumps it in, but there's no one there with a German uniform on to pick it up. The deflection comes back into Russian territory. Pass up along the wing to Butseyev. He's there with Ilya Biakin. And between the two of them, they create an offside.
The Russians have got a few big defensemen that can go forward as well. We've mentioned that with the Swedes. Certainly this Russian team, with the young defensemen they have, can get involved in the offense.
Mikhailov must be happy with what he sees out there. I understand that he's no Viktor Tikhonov, but he's in the lead right now and he's in the quarterfinals. You can't ask for much more than that.
Well, he's certainly seen it all before. 8 world titles and 2 gold medals as a player for the Russian national team himself.
Biakin trying to split the D and almost got away with it. The Germans are backing up, backing up, backing up. Boy, they open up the rink and they'll be out on the high street queuing for hamburgers.
Splitting the defense is not always or ever an easy thing to do. He's between the two of them momentarily, ends up on his chin. The puck slides to De Raaf. He doesn't care what happens to the players. He just wants the puck. Mayer goes to the penalty box. The Russians go back to the power play.
De Raaf will be under pressure once again as Petrenko goes into the face-off circle. That comes back to Karpatsov, who gives it to Yashin. Yashin, the young superstar, still a teenager playing for the Russians, got it over. And there's going to be an even-up penalty here. Just when the Russians thought they had the man advantage, Sorokin brings his man down in neutral ice territory, and it's all even again.
We've seen that before, a team getting a man advantage and then letting it get away from them. The crowd had already called the penalty, so the referee wasn't too likely to miss that one. Sorokin banking the puck in. Grunchka has got a piece of it. He's by Sorokin and thinks he's got a breakaway, only to be uplifted and dropped onto the ice.
Hagen jumped that over. Niederberger fires it right up into neutralized territory. Hagen circling back, having problems with Yashin. And now they get away from Kaminski. And the Germans looking for yet another penalty, but the American referee keeps his arms down. Frolov has a coy look at the American official. Goes for a quick change out there, and listen to the whistles and jeers. That's the kind of thing you would expect from this partisan crowd. Let's look at this again.
Frolov reaching for the puck. His stick hits the front of the skates of Dieter Hagen. Hagen goes down hard. Hagen's been like a beached whale throughout this game.
Hagen's got to cut that out. He's in front of a home crowd. I can appreciate that, but he's got to stay on his feet and take some shots at goal. Ducking and diving. This American has seen it all before. He's not stupid. He's not going to be fooled. Kopp going up against Smirnov. Yushkevich against Kopp now. As we approach the 8.5-minute mark, 2-0. The Russians leading it in the second period. Both teams with a man in the penalty box. Titov hits the blue, pumps it in. Kinas is there. Kinas setting himself free as he breaks down on the left side. Kinas over the red, comes up to the blue. Still with Kinas, pumps it all the way in. Going after it is Kopp behind the net. Kopp wants it, comes by to pick it up. Can't get that out of the skates, and the Russians now take it from their own zone out into neutralized territory. Nikolitin stopped at the top of the circle, and the puck was left there for about 3 seconds, and eventually the long shot was in. Bykov gets back on the ice. Komatov is back out there. Bykov overskated that one all the way back to the blue. The shot goes in with Komatov on the far corner. Bykov there. Thompson clears it out. The Germans now. Brandl lets the shot go. Trefilov went down and made a good save. That's the kind of thing they have to do. The Germans are back at full strength. The loose puck is there. Hagen tried to drag it out front. Hagen tipped it behind the goal. Biakin couldn't get a handle on that. Hagen again. The Russians now back at full strength. Thompson fed it in. The backhander comes in. No steam on that. Brandl went in to lay his man out against the plexi, and that didn't work. Meyer going after his man, and it's shot all the way down the ice. Trefilov goes out to touch it, and both teams getting fresh legs out there.
The Germans didn't score, but you've certainly got to be impressed with the way they're working. They'll create something if they can keep going like this.
They're doing what they do best out there. Big shot coming in. Varitsky got a piece of that as it whistled by the cage. Varitsky in the corner going up against Meyer. Meyer gets the puck and throws it behind the net, and the Germans, everyone breaking down the wings. Up front is Hilger. On this side, Kummer, or Franz rather. Franz flips it in. And the Germans are getting A+ out there for tenacious forechecking and back-checking. They certainly haven't stopped skating. They're trailing by 2, but it's not their fault that the Russians are just slightly better. Astrakantsov gets it out. That rides through a couple of players, picked up on the D, and the Germans with Niederberger circling back, trying to get it away from Titov. One too many moves by the Germans. That'll go all the way down the ice, icing the call.
The defense holding the blue line well for Germany. They're getting the shots away, putting a lot of pressure on Trefilov. The Russians still are smooth. As soon as they get the one pass out of the zone, that's when they're most dangerous. The Germans are really scampering to get back.
Face off in German territory. Duce being told to get out. Titov stays in. Titov gets it back. Smirnov will dribble that over to the far side. Rick Ammon is being shouted by Karpov. Delayed offside on the play. The Russians come out, clear the zone. The official's hand goes down. Ammon shoots that away from Nikolaishin, and it goes all the way down the ice. Yushkevich taps it up along the boards, and the Russians allowed to get away with that, but the Germans come back and have something to say about it. That's brought over the line by a Russian. Titov having problems with Baron Trunchka. Titov drops it back. Karpov right in front. Nikolaishin is there. Yushkevich couldn't keep it in. Feeds it over to the near side, and the Russians come out of the zone again.
Rolled right back in, and they get a change. Good, smart hockey.
Long pass up the middle. Kopp drops it back. And the Germans with 3-4 players over the line. They got to get shots. Niederberger pumps it in there. That hits a skate. The Germans still hang on to it. Throwing it into the corner. The tip away there is by Karpovtsov. Sorokin gets it now. Great pass by Sorokin up on the wing. Yashin tees it up, takes the shot. De Raaf goes down, makes a good save. And the Russians, whenever they want, seem to be able to break free. Rumrich. A chance for the Germans. Yashin is back in defense to clear things up for the Russians. Boy, this is non-stop end-to-end ice hockey out there. The fans are loving it. Brandl tried to go forward with that one. Didn't work. Heimer steps over the red, shoots it in. Karpovtsev got it out of the zone. Rumrich put it back, and here come the Germans. Coming up in the wing, Dieter Hagen against Karpovtsev. Dieter Hagen loses control. The fans don't like that. Every time that Hagen is touched, there's whistles and jeers. Petrenko, the little tip forward. Yashin was on the wing. The pass didn't come his way. TREFILOV. A long clearance out. Hilger lost control of that.
Unlucky for the Germans. They had a 3-on-1 had he been able to collect that puck and hold on to it.
Good stuff. Biakin goes in. He was set up nicely by Butseyev, and back comes Hilger, throws it to the far side. Hilger breaks in the middle. Heimer takes the shot. TREFILOV came way out of his net. Bikov at the blue line, dances along the blue line, flips it high into the far corner. Meyer picks it up. 2-0 the score coming up to the 14th minute mark of the second period. Boy, when was the last time we had a whistle? Germany now. These guys must be tired. It's been non-stop. Hilger. TREFILOV again looking a bit shaky on the routine shots out there.
The Germans might be trailing 2-0, but the crowd certainly isn't disappointed. End-to-end action from both teams. Good shooting, good skating up and down the wings. Great passes being made by the defense. Hilger directing that one at TREFILOV. Hard for him to handle. It's up near the chest. Good odds for the Russians with 2D back.
Well, for my money, TREFILOV is not looking that secure between the pipes. One goal from the Germans could unsettle this guy even more. That comes back. Niederberger takes the shot. Doucet tips it in. The loose puck is right there. There's a big hold in front of the net. That's going to cost the Russians. Play still continues. And the Germans with the goaltender off. Ammon throws it to the far side. Remember, if you're watching for the first time, the Russians cannot score because as soon as they touch it, the whistle will blow. The Germans have thrown on an extra attacker. Niederberger put it up. Kopp was back at the blue line. And that'll be the touch. Power play situation for the Germans. Boy, this is getting exciting.
Holding the call, Pushkov will go to the box. Action really getting tight around the front of TREFILOV's goal. You can see the Germans fighting and fighting for that puck. Pushkov, the player involved with holding the German stick. The Germans would have put the puck in with their tongue and they've been given the chance to. The Russians really had them blanketed and holding them all over. TREFILOV down on one knee trying to get a sight line on the puck. The referee watching everything closely. No question about the call.
Duce goes into the face-off circle. Titov tries to get it away. He's roughed up along the red line, and Kopp circles back. Kopp trying to shake off Titov. Puts that into the near corner. The Germans are going to have to get back first if they want to contain the Russians in their own zone. They're going to have to get in there and pick up those dump and runs. Titov doing the forechecking. The Germans with a lot of support upstairs. Can they do it down on the ice? Hilger dropped it back. That's tipped in. Going in after it is Kopp, and Trefilov this time bats it down the ice.
Good play by the goaltender, Trefilov, just to clear the zone on his own. He could see what was ahead of him.
1:15 on the penalty, and now the Germans setting it up. A chance for Duce as he gets it all the way back. Heimer fakes the shot. Duce tees it up and puts it upstairs. That bounces right by Trefilov, and he can't see it. Off the plexi, over the net. Trefilov was working to his right. The puck was on his left, right by the edge of the post.
Duce, the guy they want to shoot that puck, he's got a rocket for a shot. We've seen him score earlier in the game, blasting pucks up toward that top corner. That's his favorite spot. Duce letting this one go. Trefilov lucky to keep that one out, then not having any idea where the rebound is. Good coverage by the Russians around the front of the goal.
Good coverage by the cameraman upstairs. That's a set camera that shines down on the goals. We got cameras, 14 of them all over the place. Another one coming down. Trefilov with Meyer buzzing in there. The big defenseman moved up into the front position to try to get a rebound.
Once again, we see the shot going high. The Germans are going to have to get the puck down.
Biakin goes in. Biakin tries to get it out of the zone, and it's kept in by Kummer. Rattled off the boards. No one's going to stop that one, and the Germans getting back. Meyer being chased by Biakin. Meyer gets there first. Takes his time, gets it up into neutralized territory, and the Germans now coming up. A chance for number 35, Meyer. Loose puck in neutralized territory. What are the Germans doing out there? They got to take it in, get in there and set it up. Shot all the way in, and again they can't contain it on the far side. Started up from neutralized territory. Back at full strength. Peek off the shot. Another one comes trickling in. Brunchka batted down. Boy, you could see that coming a mile away. Komatov with just about 3 minutes left on the clock intercepted that. Big one-timer coming in from Karpotsov, and that's cleared away. Good stop by Hellmuth de Raaf, and the Germans pump it over the line. Not a lot of room for the Germans in that zone. Smirnov, or Sorokin rather, goes back. This guy can motor once he gets his wheels turning, and that's pushed all the way back into Russian territory yet again. Niederberger being shadowed by Yashin. Yashin will chase this one. Kinas gets it out. Delayed offside on the play. The Russians have come out. They've gone for another change. Niederberger tapped it forward. Trunchka tried to get it in front. Baron Trunchka was knocked down. Lukács going with the two Trunchkas out there. A bit of a power play in the dying minutes of this period. The second period, 2-0 the score. Astrakontsov taken out of the play. A big hit from behind by Kinas. Trunchka, up to Trunchka. Gerhard waiting for a little support, and that didn't work. A bouncing puck bounced over everybody's stick, and the Germans going back onto the defense now. Working out front is number 9, Baritsky. Kinas goes back into the corner. Baritsky still waiting out front. The pass doesn't come his way. Kopp now tries to get it out, up to Hagen. Hagen with a chance to shoot before the final whistle blows. Hagen trying to stick handle to everybody on the team out there. Taps it in. Kopp, Randall. Back to Kopp. Can Kopp do the wraparound? He's got a chance right out front. Again, a lot of holding out there. Hagen bringing his man down. It's going against Hagen for tripping. Look at the goalie go. This time it's the Russians who put the man on Karpov. Karpov goes in, takes the shot. The loose puck is held by De Raaf. Just when the Germans thought they may have a penalty, they find out it's going against them.
They do have a penalty indeed. Hagen will go for tripping. That resulted from his determination to try and put the puck behind TREFILOV. He was digging and hacking and whacking in front after Kopp tried to do the wraparound. The puck was there. Kopp coming around the net as tight as he can. He's got somebody all over him. Titov doing a good job helping the defense. Hagen spinning around. His stick is still caught up. It was Sapoznikov who's trying to clear it, and Hagen is called for tripping.
All the way back. Smirnov takes the shot. The rebound is there. The Raaf went down and cleared that away. Smirnov comes up to the top of the circle. That's kept in by Karpov. Karpov fed it into the corner. It's going to be another penalty. Another one going against the Germans. And the Russians feed it right at the Germans, so they touch it. Because the Russians want the two-man advantage out there. They don't want that penalty to tick down. They don't want to take their goalie off. They just want the two-man advantage, and they got it.
Well, this is going to really hurt. 2 plus 10 going against Niederberger. 5-on-3 for the Germans. Down 2 men now. 5-on-3 advantage for the Russians. Niederberger putting the pitchfork into Karpov. The referee right in the perfect position to call it. Niederberger lucky not to be just ejected for that one.
That cost them 2 plus 10. The fans don't like it. Niederberger is one of their best defensemen. Boy, he's going to be missed. 2-0 the score. This is coming to you live on Eurosport from Munich. It's a do-or-die situation for both teams. Right now, the Germans are dying out there on the ice. They're going to struggle. Ilya Biakin. Biakin takes the shot, misses the net. That comes all the way back to the top of the circle. A 5-on-3 situation, fed into the corner. Butseyev was camped out on the near post. Hemer puts in a good push and a shove. Biakin goes in, feeds it right in front. The Germans get it out of the zone. Listen to the cheer in the background. Baron Trunska taking on Shendelev. Coming up to the final few seconds of the period. Komatov trying to get it back out front. He does. A big shot comes in. De Raaf comes up big again.
Hellmut De Raaf has played well. Another big save for him. The blast taken from just inside the blue line.
A lot of pressure around that German goal here with just 5 seconds left on the period. 2-0 the score. This is how De Raaf would see it.
Drive taken by Shendelev. De Raaf right in front of the puck and holding on. Voland serving the 10-minute misconduct for Niederberger. Hagen already in the box for his 2-minute penalty. Well, that's the 2-minute penalty is being served by Voland. The 10-minute is going to be Niederberger's personal penalty. He'll stay there.
There goes the buzzer to end the second period after 40 minutes of play. It's the Russians 2, Germany 0. Karpov scored the first goal on a power play situation in the first period. Titov came back in the second to make it 2-0. De Raaf has been strong, but how much longer can he hold out? A lot of pressure around that German goal, and it's going to continue if they continue to get penalties. We're going to take a break now. Stay with us. 20 more minutes of ice hockey to come. We'll be right back with live action from Munich. Out of the penalty box, and how many times over the years have we said that about them? They got to control their tempers out there. Dieter Hagen is losing credibility fast. He's ducking and diving, looking for penalties. Rob Hearn, the American referee, is not going to call a penalty when it actually comes because the guy's taken so many dives. So how do you kind of gain credibility again? Stay on the ice and wait for the real thing to happen, I guess. Stop ducking and diving. Stop looking for the penalty.
Well, that's it. You can only cry wolf so many times. He's been complaining. He's always having to go at the ref. Every time he's touched, the crowd are on their feet naturally. Dieter Hagen is the leading goal scorer for the Germans. 5 goals and 2 assists, 7 points in 5 games. They're all watching him. A lot is expected of him. Hagen himself, knowing that he might be able to draw penalties, took 2 dives that were obvious, blatant dives in the first period. Hearn turned his back on him, and since then, Hagen legitimately has been pulled down a few times, but now he's going to find it tough to get a call out of the American referee.
Hagen, who plays his hockey in Munich, is known here as an excellent goal scorer, a great playmaker. He's had 10 appearances over the years, let's say 10 World Championships over the years, and 210 appearances at international level going into this competition. So he's been around for a decade or more, and he really is a great hockey player, but diving and trying to get the referee's attention does not work in hockey. You can do that in football all day long and get penalties, but not in this game. They very rarely call it if they know what they're doing, and I add that rider if they know what they're doing. We're getting set now for the face-off. The Germans stack the penalty box once again. Niederberger, Hagen, and Boland are in there.
Boland is there to serve Niederberger's first 2 minutes. Niederberger will stay for the extra 10. He was called for spearing in the second period. Hagen will be out shortly as he's in the box himself for an infraction that he got involved in with a Russian player.
Homatov tipped that into the corner. The return pass comes back to number 15, then goes back into the corner. 5-on-3 situation. Bykov got it right through all the skates. That comes back to the blue. You can see the penalties ticking down, 38 and 56 seconds. 22 seconds gone on the period from the side of the net. Homatov dances with that, turns around, tries to get it all the way back to the blue, and that goes all the way down the ice. Butseyev breaks to the far side, and the Russians, Byakin starts up again. Byakin, who likes to take him on himself, goes all the way back to the blue and gets the pass. Sorokin on this side, looking for the call, but it didn't come his way. Now it does. Sorokin over to Byakin. Byakin throws in a one-timer. Oh, that was pretty indeed. Oh, power play goal for the Russians. They made it look so easy.
The Russian team so quick to move the puck around. More than once we've seen them play it off the back boards. That's a play they like to use. They'll drive the puck off the back boards to a player on the other side of the net. They tried that early in this power play. Now they keep control of the puck. It's slid down low, one-timer. There isn't much of a chance for De Raaf. Byakin, Komatov, Bykov moving the puck around so nicely.
3-0 the score now as we take a look at this again. Byakin sets it up. Komatov drives it home. Power play goal. The lesson to be learned is stay out of the penalty box. Coming down now is Karpov. 3-0 the score. Smirnov got it over the far side to Yushkevich. Yushkevich tips it all the way in, and the Germans still under pressure. Trunchka brings his man down. Another man steps on the ice. That's Boland. Here comes Boland, flipping it up to Hilger. Hilger takes the shot. TREFILOV goes up high, and that's bounced over to the far side. The Germans back at full strength at 1:33 of the third period. 3-0 to score. Big long shot by Karpov. The rebound came out nicely for the Germans, and they come back on the attack. Thompson to Trunchka. Trunchka feeds it in. Franz lets a weak shot goal that took a deflection. Gerhard Trunchka in the corner. All the way back to the blue line. And the Russians coming forward now. Petrenko. Petrenko shoots, goes for the far corner, tries to tuck it under the arm. That one hurt.
Petrenko is hurting from the shot Thompson gave him as well. Going off the ice very slowly is Petrenko. DE RAAF had a hard time with the shot. On his off wing, Petrenko gets the puck away quickly. Thompson just trying to get a piece of him. Stick coming across. DE RAAF holds onto the puck. Face-off will be to the left of Helmut DE RAAF.
Pushkov couldn't keep that in the circle, and the Germans tip it all the way out. A long tip all the way down the ice. Kopp goes back after it. Shendelev is there. Pushkov way back from the center position. Throws it up on the wing to Astrakantsev. Astrakantsev loses out. Keenas puts it over to Kopp. Kopp muscled along the boards and will have another face-off. The officials losing sight of the puck out there as Kopp was squeezed out of the plate. The Russians not taking any prisoners out there. Kopp still smarting from that crash along the boards.
Very hot on the ice, packed crowd, making it difficult for the players to keep control of the puck. The ice gets chopped up, it's warm, puck starts bouncing around as it is right now. The players need to get off the ice quickly.
Fed right through a chance. That just goes wide of the net. Or did it go in the net? That's a goal, as the goal was knocked off. The Russians celebrate. That's number 4. Boy, for a moment it looked like it just missed that net, and the net was upended.
What a play by the Russians. Once again, they've lulled everybody to sleep. Move the puck forward. Komatov with a lovely pass to Butseyev. He's on the go. The big guy with a breakaway. Doesn't get much on the puck, but it's enough to get it past Helmut DE RAAF. DE RAAF all laid out, the net, and looking like it's in slow motion, finally falling over all the way. Butseyev with Mayer taking a whack at him. Mayer gets just a piece of the puck. Butseyev gets the goal. The Russians are in front by 4.
Boy, they make something out of nothing there. The Russians dominating this third and final period. 2:50 gone, 4-0 the score. Butseyev rammed it home, and now the Russians back on the attack. The drop pass there by Beritsky picked up, and the Germans looking to get on the score sheet. Brandl, the intended receiver, taken out of the play. Back on the attack on the backhand side. Spinning around is Karpov. Karpov has been outstanding in the first 2 periods. Continues to work in the third. Dieter Hagen. Hagen back at the blue. Taps it all the way in. Going after it and getting it is Karpatsev. Karpatsev eventually cleared it out of the zone. The Germans trying to work it free. They do get as far as the blue line. Titov brings it up in neutral ice territory. A lot of fans looking for a whistle, and now they're going to get their whistle. Hagen says, what do I have to do? A backflip to get a penalty.
Hagen is really frustrated. He hasn't been able to get anything going for himself or his line mates. Finds himself all tangled up in the neutral zone. He's hacked and held. Still not getting a break from the referee. Makes his way to the penalty box.
Niederberger still in there with the 10-minute penalty.
Nicolishin sliding into Hagen, knocking him over, then Hagen retaliating on Nicolishin.
Trunchka going back. Yashin is all over him, but Trunchka gets away with a little help from a friend out there. Coming up with Hilger on this side, Heimer on that side. The return pass is not a good one. Nicolishin is also sitting out there. Kaminsky comes back on the left side. Hilger gets a stick in there to intercept the pass. So both teams with a man in the box. And again, Dieter Hagen going with abuse on the official, not happy with the call. Coming up is Kaminsky. Kaminsky drops it back. Shot coming in. Sorokin was right there. Yashin is there in the crease, but DE RAAF pounces on it.
Close call again. The Russians are swarming all around DE RAAF. Yashin going close on that play, standing right on top of DЕ РААФ as DЕ РААФ held on to the puck.
Boy, the Ottawa Senators would love to have Yashin over there now. Even though the season has been completed, they want to get him for the start of next season. There's some doubt as to whether he'll come over. He wants to make sure he's ready for the National Hockey League. He wants to make sure he's mature enough. Big shot coming in. TREFILOV goes down. Baron Trunchka couldn't handle that. And even though the season has just ended, give it a couple of weeks and they'll start training for next season. Loose puck flipped over the far wing. Baron Trunchka is there. Meyer goes in to help out and picks it up.
I think you're desperate to be a supporter of that Ottawa team. Your father must have shares or something. I realize he lives in Ottawa.
Oh, another one. That's number 5. The Russians applying pressure, really turning the screws. Bykov showing his stuff. 32 years old, playing his hockey in Switzerland now. And he lets it rip from about 25 feet out.
Giveaway by the Germans. Komatov sniping that pass away. Bykov with a one-timer drills it past DЕ РААФ. Not wasting any time whatsoever. DЕ РААF not set for the shot. Doesn't even get a touch.
Komatov setting up the last 2 goals. It's been Karpov, Titov. Komatov, Butseyev, and Bykov. I can't even read my own writing out there. A little pause makes it 5-0 no matter how you look at it. The coincidental penalties ticking down. 20 seconds remaining now, but still pressure coming from the Russians. Titov skates across the rink, throws it in behind the goal. And I'd have to say that it's all over but the shouting for the Germans. They really do look desperate out there.
Things haven't gone the Germans' way whatsoever. Coming into this game, the Russians were averaging 3 goals a game, 15 from their first 5 outings. The Germans have scored 20 goals in 5 games, and they just can't seem to get anything going. They've averaged 4 goals a game and can't put anything at all past this TREFILOV guy in the net. They haven't really had that great of opportunities.
They're not getting the shots on goal. That's the name of the game out there. Face-off in Russian territory. Both teams now getting set as Brendel gets ready for the face-off. 5-0 the score. The Russians have exploded here in the third period, just as the Swedes did against the Americans. 1, 2, 3 goals so far. That was the same story with Sweden against the Americans. It was all tied up to a piece after 2. And then the Swedes took control. Loose puck in the corner. Butseyev is chopping. Kummer tries to go in, but TREFILOV went down and pounced on it. He hasn't seen rubber for a long time. Another change of players out there for both teams.
Kummer and Brandl, 2 guys that certainly haven't given up. They're really going hard. Brandl plays in Cologne, Kummer in Dusseldorf. They've got a good understanding of each other, and they really can apply the forecheck, working very hard.
Petrenko sitting with his helmet off at the back on the back bench, and it doesn't look like he's going to play anymore. He was the one that went off earlier with that leg injury, and that's a pity. I hope he's back because he is a class act. Petrenko is a guy who can move the puck, plays for Moscow Dynamo, still only 24 years old, and he has a lot of hockey left in him. Hopefully we'll see more of him in this tournament. The official dumped on the far side of the rink, and the spectators enjoying that little episode.
There's always that element of sickness in the crowd that they seem to enjoy a referee or an official being dumped.
Nikolaisen picks himself up. Let's take a look at this. This is unfortunate. The puck comes around there, and the official collides with Nikolaisen.
The linesman flattened Hagen in the first period, so the teams are even.
Yashin being told to leave the face-off circle. Trunchka remains at center. 5-0 the score. That's shot away. Nikolaisen got it through as far as the blue line, and the Germans have to go deep with Kinas. Kinas off the boards. Franz got it forward. Hilger over the blue line. Hilger, will he take the shot? He does. The rebound comes out. That's the right thing to do out there, and I'm sure that that's what Bukac, the coach, is telling them to do. Nikolaisen fed that through, more of a mistake than anything else. A chance for Hilger. Hilger takes the shot. TREFILOV comes up with the pad save. The rebound out is cleared away, and Hilger goes for a break.
Hilger with a goal and 3 assists so far in 5 games. Has played well. He's got a great shot.
Sapoznikov got it up as far as the German blue line. Meyer feeds it over to the far side. The shadow coming from Nikolaisen, who's still out there. And the Germans just unable to get it going. Big shot coming in. Meyer chases this. The Russians get to it first and pump it in behind the goal. That's tipped away. And again, we see the big red machine working up, setting it up, and controlling play here in the third period. Meyer to Kopp. Kopp coming down. Kopp dropping it back. Excellent back-checking by the Russians. Boy, they're coming back in numbers.
Certainly are. 21, Pushkov getting back to help the defense. All they had to do was stand there. Pushkov stripped the German of the puck and went the other way.
Thompson breaks to the far side. The big defenseman going in on the backhand side. Still with Thompson. Smirnov took him out of the play, and Thompson still fighting along the boards. That goes all the way down the ice. And the Russians are called for icing.
The Russians in total control. The Germans just shooting from anywhere now. They know they've got to do something in a hurry. It's got to be big. They're down by 5 goals. It's an uphill battle.
Playing against the Russians was once described as, or compared to, trying to swim uphill. If you can just picture that. I've never done it personally, but the Russians always seem to keep coming at you, and they wear you down. No matter who's on the team, they have this discipline that is just incredible. They play as a unit. Rumrick is brought down as he tries to split the defense.
The Germans need to get up there in more numbers. One guy can't take the entire Russian team on. Rumrick trying it. Smirnov gets the stick in. Rumrick eventually ends up on the ice. The Germans will have a man advantage out of it.
Strafball der Rückstand, der Spieler mit der Nummer 5, Alexander Smirnov, erhält 2 Strafminuten für Einstellung.
2 minutes for tripping for Smirnov. Have the Germans got a power play? It's been so long since we've seen them do anything. With the man advantage, Brandl ties his man up. It comes all the way back to the D. He scores! Power play goal for the big man.
Winning the face-off, that's what gets it all started. Germans set it up. Brandl taking his man out. Dieter Hagen slides across, has a look, says why not, drives it toward the goal, and finds the back of the net for the first time for Germany. Hagen with his 6th goal now in these games puts Germany on the scoreboard. The Germans' 7th power play goal of the 93 World Games.
It certainly has turned on this crowd. Can it motivate the team into scoring more? Kaminsky, big hit on Yashin. Kinas, who's the muscle man for the Germans, throws his weight around out there, and that's the kind of thing they need. This goal rather could lift their game and bring them right back into this. They trail by 4, but they've got close to 12 minutes out there. A chance now for France. He's got Kummer out front. Franz whistling around, slams into the boards. Franz loses his helmet. Play continues. The American referee looks the other way. Yashin gets it up on the wing. Yashin right in front, the tip. And that just went over the stick into the far corner. Coming back on the play, Kaminsky. Yashin on the far side. Number 23 was Nikolaishin. These guys are playing with him now back there. Throwing the puck around. That dribbles through. Meyer bringing it up for Germany. Everyone changing. Long shot, took a deflection. And just after that goal, the Russians took it down, took complete control, and threw the puck around like they were out in a practice.
The Russians just don't get rattled. They keep their cool, and they apply pressure of their own.
The swipe with that ended up in the neutral zone, and the Russians coming back. Look at the trailer, always there. Kopp this time was the trailer. He anticipated that. A good move by number 9. Here comes Kopp. Drops it back to Amon. Amon lets the shot go, misses the net. The big defenseman unable to get any power on that. Duce right through. Amon, a second attempt, and he shoots it right at the defenseman. Boy, give the puck to somebody else. Kopp is dumped and spun around. Thompson feeding it through to Kopp. This guy can move, trying to stick handle through a crowd out there. The Germans having a good spell as that comes over to the near corner. Baron Trunchka is out there now against Asrakantsev. Back to the blue line. Big shot on goal. The rebound is there. One or two guys grabbing and holding out there as that shot down the ice.
Ernst Kopp with one whale of a shift. Still on his knees. Is he ever drained? What an outstanding performance by him. All over the ice, making things happen. Unable to put the puck behind TREFILOV on the rebound, but he's the one that's making it all go.
How many times did Kopp set up Rick Ammon? Boy, he had a couple of goal opportunities. TREFILOV, again, looking shaky. Couldn't hang on to that one. That was a routine shot. Nobody there. Duce in front, Kopp in front, everybody there. But TREFILOV had a lot of time to see that. Should have hung on to it.
If it hadn't been for Pushkov, Kopp would have found that puck and had a goal.
Brandl gets it back. Coming in is Hemer. Hemer, the big defenseman, squeezed out of the play. Double team there. Shendelev gets it, brings it into the corner, and the Russians with the long pass up the middle. Keenas intercepts it, puts it over on the wing. The Germans clearing the zone. It's pumped right back in. Good pressure from Germany. They need a goal. This is coming late in the game, but anything at all is an improvement on what was happening. Vikov with 11:07 gone in the period. Vikov back on the attack. This guy never hurries, never panics. Vikov taken out of the play. Komatov is there to help out. The Germans, Rumrich out of the zone. And the Germans going to change the long pass up into neutral ice territory to Brandl. Brandl whips it across the rink to Hagen. Hagen gets it back to the blue. Meyer tips it forward. There's nobody in there. The Germans are going to have to get back in a hurry if they want to contain this Russian team in their own zone. Vikov flips it up onto the right side. The pass through to Karpov. And Karpov still controlling it, getting it away from Volin. Volin hasn't seen a lot of action out there. Yushkevich bangs it off the boards out of harm's way.
Such a system that the Russians have. They really spread out. They control the puck. They just don't give it away. Everybody's pass and everybody's movement is for a purpose.
Hilger working with Franz. Trunchka is out there as well, and that comes out to number 9, Varitsky. Varitsky feeds it into the center. Back to Titov, looking for Varitsky, a high bouncing puck. Hilger leaves it there almost too long. And the Russians pick it up with Yushkevich tapping it through. Titov is brought down just inside the blue line, and the Germans start it up. Trunchka. Baron Trunchka over to the far side. No defenseman there to help out. And the Germans getting caught here as Yashin comes up against Thompson. Yashin falls. Kaminsky goes in to help out. Wherever one is, you'll see the other. Kaminsky and Yashin working behind the net. Germany, Kopp giving it off. He's back on the ice. Here comes Baron Trunchka. Good pass over to the far side. Where is Kops? He's cruising in over the line. That hit a skate. And back come the Russians. 5-1 the score. The Russians in a good lead, but the Germans are not out of this yet. Heimer along the boards, down the ice. Sorokin, good checking there from Ducey. Tried to get it out front, and that's shot away. We have a whistle on the play as players mix it up beside the goal.
Action is still going at an incredible pace. Every time the players come together, though, there appears to be the elbows and the sticks coming up now. A few late hits being thrown. Ducey being very aggressive on the forecheck.
Ducey, who's married to the daughter of Joseph Kampala, who happens to be a very well-known German referee, should know what it's like out there. And I understand that his wife, every once in a while, puts on the stripy uniform to referee games herself. So, boy, he gets it from all sides.
With a match penalty, would that mean he isn't allowed to go home or what?
Loose puck in neutralized territory. The Germans with Hagen. Hagen going up to the blue line, but that's as far as he gets. Butseyev circles. Butseyev comes up now. Butseyev fakes the shot. He's got Frolov with him. Decides to go deep. All the way back to Homatov. Homatov tees it up. Good save. Both teams are short a man out there as the Germans try to string it together. Boy, they look tired. Brandel will go for a break. The Germans have given everything that they have, but they just don't have enough.
The Russians once again falling into that controlled style of play, spreading out, making the Germans use all their energy to chase the puck. The Russians will always let the puck do the work when they slow things down.
Ammon moves in front. Franz couldn't hang on to that. Less than 30 seconds now on the coincidental penalties. The Russians coming back on the attack. Homatov drops it back. Homatov looking for the return pass. That didn't come his way. Shendelav backhanded it over to the far side. Franz got a handle on it. Thompson working along the far boards, and that comes back behind the net. Trunchka at center, being shadowed by Titov. Trunchka. Titov goes in now, picks up the puck as Trunchka was manhandled along the boards, and the Russians elect to just dump it down the ice.
The Germans are still trying to go at the Russians 1-on-3, 1-on-4, whatever. They're going to have to get up there in numbers.
Both teams back at full strength. Baron Trunchka again trying to take on the whole Russian team. Titov shoots it away from Ducey and Trunchka, and the Russians get it out. They'll be happy with that. It's amazing how the Russians just go back into their shell and plant four guys on the blue line. There's no way you can get by them. They're breaking down the neutral zone. Titov doing a good job of going both ways out there. He picks up the puck, takes a little wrist shot at the goalie. That's cleared away, but Titov goes into the corner and hangs onto it. Excellent work. Titov again brings it out front. Big shot out there from Yushkevich. A chance now for Karpatsev. That ricochets off the backboards, and now the Germans are in trouble. Another wicked shot coming in. Karpatsev got a feel of it. And the Germans looking in total disarray out there as they try to get it out, try to get a whistle, try to do anything. Baron Trunchka to the top of the circle to Ducey. Ducey throws it out. Baron Trunchka, long shot, cleared by TREFILOV. Karpatsev goes along to the far side, and Rumrick goes after him. A break down the wing with Yashin. Yashin fed it over to Nikolaishin. Nikolaishin back to Yashin. Yashin at the side of the net takes on two guys, and 34 Mende comes up with it and gives it away to Sorokin. Less than 3 minutes on the game.
The Russians still in control. The Germans are scampering. They're changing as quickly as they can, but they are wearing down faster and faster. They really can't get a good grip on the puck and make anything happen.
Cleared as far as the blue line and kept in. Meyer has to go deep. Meyer feeds it up to Brandl. Brandl now ahead manning of the puck to Bowen, or to Hilger rather. Hilger is taken out of the play, but it's a 1-on-3 situation. You've got to go forward in numbers. You can't go alone. You end up on your backside when you try to take on three of them. An effort there by Astrakantsev on his own. That didn't work. The loose puck behind the goal. Time ticking down for the Germans. They're not going to win this one. Too big a deficit out there. They can't recover, but they could make it a little more respectable. Trunchka up on the left wing. The two-line pass is whistled down, and so the Russians will go into the next round.
The Germans have worked very hard. Their supporters certainly very appreciative to what they've seen from the host team.
Tomorrow the Canadians take on Finland, and the Czech Republic go up against the Italians. Two more games in the medal round. Those should be interesting. There are no dead certs in this competition. No guaranteed wins. Anything can happen. It's just 60 minutes of hockey, and anyone can turn it around. Face-off in the Germans' territory. Thompson feeding that through as it goes all the way down to TREFILOV. He wants to keep the game going, to wind this one down. They want to celebrate. Bykov to the far side. Bykov to Butsayev. Butsayev is taken heavily from behind, and DE RAAF gets out to touch. DE RAAF really hasn't been tested that much in this period, but when he has been, the pucks have gone in the net. I'm not taking anything away from DE RAAF, it's just the shots have been so good and so powerful that he really hasn't had much choice and much chance for that matter. Khomatov back at the blue, doubles back. Khomatov continues to play fine hockey as he gets it up to Bykov. Bykov waits for a little support, throws it in the corner, and the Russians are playing hockey out there like we expect them to play hockey. Bykov took it in behind the goal. Big slash on Bykov by Trunchka. Nikolaishin is tagged by Heimer. Nikolaishin moves along the boards. The referee gets in the way, tries to step aside. Bykov all the way back to the blue. How did he get it back to Yushkevich?
Backhander directed at DE RAAF through traffic. He holds on. The crowd still cheering for the locals. The Russians showing their true class, walking away with this. It's a matter of the clock ticking down now for the Germans.
What a difference on the bench. Viktor Tikhonov, perhaps one of the greatest coaches in the world in the history of the game, was a disciplinarian. No one used to go along tapping, giving high fives, smiling. The coach hardly ever congratulated anyone. Now they're doing it just like they do it in the rest of the world. 5 seconds, they're enjoying their hockey out there, and they're playing some good stuff. It's all over now but the celebrating. The Germans well and truly beaten as everyone for the Russian side goes back to congratulate TREFILOV. He played well, although at times he was very shaky indeed. Perhaps it was something he ate before the game, but he kept the puck out, except for that one shot by Dieterhagen, a power play situation that beat him, that gave the Germans their only goal of the game. Karpov got the only goal of the first period on a power play. Titov was there in the second period, and then the wheels fell off the wagon. Khomatov came up with a power play goal. Butsayev and then Bykov, the old workhorse, made it 5-0. Hagen, as I've already said, got the lone goal for the Germans.
The Germans trying everything they could to get back into it. It was never going to be enough. A few slight breakdowns in their game, lack of discipline, some penalties really cost them. Even when the Russians didn't score on power play opportunities, they were in control, and it was taking away from the German game and wearing them down and making them more tired. 2 power play goals were scored by Russia. It's really all that they needed.
Losing Niederberger for 12 minutes didn't help either. He's a big asset on defense. He's one guy they can't do without.
Amman trying to do everything he could to help the offense, was caught a few times up front. You know, it was just a question of the Germans had all the adrenaline pumped up. Everybody was expecting great things from them. They've come a long way. They certainly showed everybody up until this point that they can play with anybody, but the Russians were just simply too strong.
Well, the Germans beat the Norwegians 6-0 and then got trounced by the Czechs 5-0. They went on to beat the French 5-3, the Finns 3-1, and the Americans 6-3. So not a bad showing in this competition. Hagen is disappointed, and so are 11,000 people in this Olympic Hall here in Munich. They played their hearts out, but when it came down to it, the Russians were a lot better. It's as simple as that. You just can't compete with a team that has the class that the Russians have right now. Like the Swedes, Richard, the Russians are building. They're getting the game together. They're gelling. And I think in the next round they'll be even stronger.
That's why Coach Mike Keenan is making sure that the Canadians are well prepared. They've come in and blown a lot of people off the ice. But these are the rounds where the discipline, staying out of the penalty box, the little things, the face-offs, the specialty teams, it all starts coming together for all the big boys, and the Canadians are going to have to watch their step.
The Russians had a shaky start in this tournament, tying the Italians 2-2. I bet you they'd like to go back to that one. They then beat the Austrians only 4-2, shut out the Swiss 6-0, lost to the Swedes 5-2, and lost to the Canadians 3-1. So coming into this game, they were on a 2-game losing streak. They certainly put it together against the Germans, though. 5-1 is the score. Well, earlier on, the USA played against the Swedes, and as soon as we leave this game, we're going to go into the final period of that game. It was a game played this afternoon. It was one of the most exciting games we've seen in this competition. Everyone went for it. Class hockey, a lot of good plays, some brilliant goaltending at both ends of the rink, so stay around. If you didn't see that today, you're going to see the third and final period after we leave Munich here live on Eurosport. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this one. We certainly have. It started slowly for the Russians and then gradually built into a bit of a windfall. The snowball effect took over, and the Russians eventually won the game 5-1. As soon as we're finished here, you're going to see the final period of that USA-Sweden game that was played earlier on today in this knockout round. The Russians go into the next round tomorrow on Eurosport. Canada against Finland. Canada first in A, Finland fourth in B. The Czechs take on the Italians later in the evening. The Czechs first in B, the Italians fourth in A. Anything can happen. Remember, it's knockout hockey. The winners stay on, the losers go home. It's all about 60 minutes of ice hockey. So the final score here, Russia 5, Germany 1. We're going to go now in